you going to tell them? You're going to quit your practice, you're going to stop doing surgery, and you're going to make the call? He keeps on saying social media, social media.
You're not going to let him tell me how I make money.
Because there's no chance of you making money on this. Worst presentation ever. I'm out. I don't want you to even talk to these guys anymore. I don't want to turn this into a negotiation with the other sharks.
Mark, you're saying screw the other sharks.
Yep.
Wow.
When Mark Cuban, the billionaire who turned every Shark Tank episode into a masterclass, announced he was leaving after season 16, fans felt like a piece of the show was leaving with him. He was the one who could turn a pitch into a showdown, a deal into a drama, and a no into a moment you'd talk about for years. Even if the man himself may be swimming out of the tank, the waves he made aren't settling anytime soon. Number 1. Tippy Toes. It was season 2. Shark Tank was still new, where the energy is kind of awkward and the sharks are polite, almost too polite. And then, in walks Mark Cuban, the wildcard billionaire who made his fortune selling broadcast.com and never learned how to play small. From the moment he sat down, you could feel something shift. He was not there to blend in, but was there to dominate. That's when two sisters, Megan and Sarah Riley, walked in with their pitch for Tippy Toes, a children's dance franchise. Their idea was wholesome, profitable, and pretty solid. They were asking for $30,000 for 5% equity. It felt like a feel-good pitch that most sharks might approach with a smile and some questions. But Cuban, he had other plans. He was not just there to make a deal. Before anyone could even start a bidding war, Mark said a line that would set the tone for every appearance he made after that.
I don't want to get into a negotiation. You guys are going to have to come back to me. And if you come back with the right number, we have the deal.
$100,000 for 30%.
Done.
The other sharks were stunned and the founders were caught off guard. They asked for $30,000, and here is this billionaire throwing 6 figures on the table before they could even blink. He didn't just make them an offer. He flipped the power dynamic, and what came next became classic Cuban.
I don't want you to even talk to these guys anymore. I don't want to turn this into a negotiation with the other sharks.
Mark, you're saying screw the other sharks.
Yep.
Wow.
He looked the sisters dead in the eye and told them not to even talk to the other sharks. It was his first real mic drop moment on Shark Tank. He made founders choose, made them feel the pressure. And just like that, Tippy Toes became Cuban's first investment on the show, but it was bigger than the money. It was more like a message of what is coming. It set the tone for everything that followed. Mark was not afraid to overpay for passion, and he was not afraid to walk away from hype. But most of all, he wasn't afraid to take control, and it was just the beginning of the legend. Number 2, Rolodoc. Every era of Shark Tank has that one pitch people still talk about years later. For Mark Cuban, that moment was Rolodoc. Season 5, the tank doors open, and in walk two brothers, Dr. Richard and Dr. Albert Amini. They were confident and carried themselves as the smartest in the room. They introduced themselves as physicians with a bold idea, a revolutionary social network for doctors, and they call it Rolodoc. At first, everyone was clueless. The medical field was ripe for innovation, and the sharks knew it. A private professional network for physicians could actually be a huge win. It was just like a LinkedIn for healthcare. But then the pitch begins, and it starts falling apart. Instead of a clear explanation, the brothers start spitting buzzwords like cloud-based, data-driven, and whatnot. Every sentence sounds like it came out of a tech startup dictionary. While every other investor was acting as if they knew something, Mark Cuban leaned back and watched this word salad with irritation. Then, halfway through the pitch, he decided he's had enough.
What are you going to do to convince doctors?
We're going to tell them that this is the best way to brand yourself in
How are
advertising.
you going to tell them? You're going to quit your practice, you're going to stop doing surgery, and you're going to make the call? He keeps on saying social media, social media.
You're not going to let him tell me how I make money.
Because there's no chance of you making money on this. Worst presentation ever. I'm out.
Even though they tried convincing, it was still all smoke and buzzwords. The more they talk, the less sense it makes. You can feel the tension through the screen, and Cuban has already moved from confusion to full stop mode. And Cuban was not done. He didn't just humiliate them, but he educated them. He explains point by point why their business makes no sense, how their concept lacks clarity, and how they have done zero testing, have no customers, and can't even explain the most basic functionality. It was a billionaire investor dissecting a bad idea in real time, and just like that, the brothers broke out of answers and eventually walked out with no deals. But what Cuban said next to them created a wave.
Worst presentation ever. I'm out.
Mark, I just think you're being a bully. I mean, they might be
Okay,
misguided.
I am being a bully, then they deserve to be bullied.
That single word became a kind of warning label for every founder who ever thought confidence could replace competence. It was Cuban's line conveying the fact that Shark Tank was not just about entertainment. but it was about honesty. And that's the thing about Mark Cuban. He didn't explode out of ego, he exploded out of principle. He respected risk takers, but he had zero tolerance for pretenders. He was not just another shark trying to score deals. He was the one who called out nonsense when he saw it, that too loudly and unapologetically. Number 3, breathometer. Mark Cuban was known for spotting the fakes before anyone else. He could sniff out scams like a hound, but even the sharpest instincts get tested, and in one of Shark Tank's most infamous deals, they did. It started like so many great pitches do, with a promising gadget and a visionary founder, and the product was a pocket-sized breathalyzer called the breathometer. It claimed to measure your blood alcohol level through your phone. Just blow into it and it would tell you if you were safe to drive. It sounded smart, sleek, and socially responsible tech that could literally save lives. And the sharks were hooked instantly. The founder, Charles Michael Yim, came in ready to impress. He had data, prototypes, projections, all the things that make a pitch look perfect. Even better, his idea was linked to safety. One by one, the sharks bit. Kevin O'Leary, Lori Greiner, Robert Herjavec, Damon John, and yes, Mark Cuban all jumped in. It became one of the rare all-shark deals, the kind that made headlines. And for a while, everything looked golden. The company took off and became a media toy. The product appeared in ads, news features, and stores. It felt like a Shark Tank fairy tale heading for success. But behind the scenes, something was not adding up. He bagged a total of $1 million and decided to do zero work. Later, Mark Cuban revealed that it was one of the biggest losses of his life.
My biggest loss was probably $1 million. There was this company, what the hell was it called?
Breathometer, the world's first smartphone breathalyzer.
I look at his Instagram and he'd be in Bora Bora. He'd be in Vegas partying, then he'd be on Nectar Island with Richard Branson. And I'd text him like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be working. Oh no, I'm networking.
Complaints started coming in where users noticed inconsistencies in readings. It sometimes underestimates blood alcohol levels and sometimes fails to register at all. The breathometer was not accurately measuring anything. An investigation by the Federal Trade Commission found that the company had misled consumers. In 2017, the FTC ordered Breathometer to refund all customers and stop selling the product altogether. It was a stunning blow not just for the consumers, but for the sharks who backed it. For once, Mark Cuban was not the one exposing the scam. He was caught in it. The man who warned the world about wannapreneurs had just invested in one of the biggest Shark Tank failures ever. And yet, how he handled it marked his legacy. He didn't make excuses, but he owned it. He spoke openly about what went wrong, about how sometimes even the smartest investors can get blinded by a good story. He didn't let embarrassment define him. He turned it into a lesson for himself. In a world where most billionaires hide behind PR walls, Cuban showed that even the most experienced can be fooled, and that admitting it doesn't weaken your credibility. Because greatness is not built from never losing. It's built from learning faster than everyone else. That's what Mark Cuban did. Number 4, Pavlok.
How could you guys be so gullible?
Every now and then, a Shark Tank pitch does not just crash, sometimes it explodes. Not because the product is terrible, but because the founder walks in with something so bizarre, so controversial, that the room simply can't handle it. Pavlok was one of those pitches. The concept sounded insane to the whole world. A wristband that shocks you to stop bad habits like biting your nails, smoking, eating junk food, procrastinating, etc. Whatever your vice was, Pavlok promised to snap it out of you. It used the principle of aversion therapy. It is the same psychological method that connects discomfort with bad habits. In theory, if you link pain with a habit, your brain learns to stop craving it. Behind the idea was Manish Sethi, a Stanford grad and self-proclaimed productivity hacker. He built Pavlok for himself after years of struggling with distraction and lack of focus. The prototype actually worked for him, or at least he believed it did. He started shocking himself to stay off social media, and before long, he could achieve it. When Pavlok hit Shark Tank, Sethi did not just bring a product, he brought confidence. Maybe too much of it. His ask was $500,000 for just over 3% of his company, which already raised eyebrows. Here was a guy asking millionaires to invest in a bracelet that literally electrocuted you. It was risky and too weird. The pitch had promise at first. Behavioral change is a billion-dollar industry, and if Pavlok could actually help people quit bad habits, it could have been massive. But as the pitch went on, there was not enough hard data and no clinical studies, no verified results, no proof. That is where sharks smell trouble. And then Mark Cuban, who has seen more miracle gadgets than anyone in that room, went from cautious to furious. In that moment, the tone shifted completely. Cameras zoomed in on the stunned founder. Cuban's expression said it all, that he didn't just dislike the pitch, but he distrusted it. The rest of the sharks slowly backed away too. A few saw potential but didn't want to take the risk. Sethi stood there trying to defend his product as something real and proven, but the tank had turned against him already. And then came the moment that made television history. Kevin O'Leary offered a deal, but not an amazing one. Instead of taking it, Sethi rejected him. And not politely or diplomatically. It was just a no. It was a shocking move, maybe even more shocking than the product itself.
I would take an offer from anybody besides Mr. Wonderful.
You're a get the out of here.
What followed was chaos, and within seconds, the deal and the entire pitch shattered. Sethi walked out without funding, branded as arrogant, delusional, and, according to Cuban, a con artist. Pavlok was not a scam, but it was risky. The science was thin and the promise was bold. Cuban's instincts were right to call out the hype. Number 5. Balance bracelet. Every season of Shark Tank has that one pitch that makes you question even your existence. And then there's the kind of pitch that makes Mark Cuban lose all patience. That's exactly what happened the day a young entrepreneur walked into the tank claiming his wristbands could restore your body's natural energy field. It sounded like pseudoscience. But this guy was serious, and he called it the balance bracelet, powered by negative ion technology. From the start, it was classic Shark Tank theater. The founder had confidence and a polished pitch. He spoke about wellness, balance, and energy alignment. He made it sound revolutionary, where a simple wristband will help your body perform at its best. Some of the sharks were curious to humor him. He brought out the props, ran balance tests, and did the classic demo where someone suddenly seemed stronger after wearing the bracelet. But while everyone else was still processing what they'd just seen, Mark Cuban didn't nod. He just sat there, staring, silent like a scientist watching someone try to sell him a scam. Because Mark's brain doesn't buy hype, but buys logic. He could see it immediately, the pseudoscience, the performance, the manipulation. It was an illusion, and he knew it already. He didn't reach for the bracelet when it was handed out. In fact, he refused to even touch it. That single gesture said everything.
To have.
Thank you very much.
Here's yours.
No thanks. Go ahead. You keep it.
It's Dallas Mavericks blue, just for you.
That's okay. You keep it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mark, are you allergic to positive, negative ion stuff?
No, I'm allergic to scams.
You could see the tension shift. The founder tried to charm him, make a joke, and keep it light, but Mark was not laughing, because when Mark Cuban smells a scam, the mood changes. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't make a scene, he just calmly made it clear that he knew what was happening, that this was not a business pitch, but it was a con. He just exposed the illusion for what it was. He knew it had no credible studies, no verified results, no scientific proof. You could see it on the founder's face, that moment when the confidence cracks and when the mask slips. Because you cannot charm Mark Cuban out of the truth. The rest of the sharks got the idea quickly, realizing what was happening. The pitch got shattered in seconds and the founder was left empty-handed. And that's what made him powerful. This was not a billionaire saying no to a bad idea. It was a man standing up against a scam and calling out the danger of products that prey on people's hope. In that moment, Mark Cuban became something bigger than a shark. For 14 years, Mark Cuban sat in that iconic leather chair as the king of the tank, the voice of reason, and the one shark who never faked it for the cameras.
This show changed me. I've learned so much from all of you. I think I changed the show.
You're a warrior. You're just an all-around great person.
And I think we all together as sharks changed America.
He walked in as a billionaire. He walked out as a legend, and the tank will never be the same without him. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe for more Shark Tank breakdowns.